Now that you know how to work with addition and subtraction, let's use them together to create a magic swimming pool. In this program, our character performs a super jump, and before landing, the floor turns into a small swimming pool or pond. Let's begin. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna open our good friend, the super jump code. And we're gonna change it a little bit to adapt it and become a swimming pool. Alright, so let's go to super jump. And here's my code. Now, this code, what it does is it gets the position of the player. It will increase the Y by 5, and then after waiting for 3 seconds, it will teleport the player to the new position. So this, what will cause is the player to go up by 5 blocks, making it look like he made a super jump, like he jumped super high, and then the player goes back down. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add stuff to this program. We still need a super jump, but this time when the player lands, he lands in, or she lands in a swimming pool. So let's proceed. So in order to do that, the first thing I want to do is, since I need to remember where the player originally was, because I will create the swimming pool right there, I'm gonna remove this line. Remember, by doing this, by reassigning to Y what Y had plus something else, we're basically forgetting the original value of Y, right? We're adding 5 to it, and whatever the value was before is gone. We don't want that because I want to remember where I was to create the swimming pool right there. I'm assuming the player will be on the floor before the jump. So instead of having that line there, what I will do is I will just directly add 5 to the Y here, as we send this value as an argument to the setTilePos function. So by doing this, I'm still jumping 5 blocks, but the value of Y remains unchanged because all I'm doing here is having this operation that says add to whatever Y was at 5 and send that as the argument to the function. But I'm not changing the value of Y. Anyways, I'm pretty sure by now you know what I'm saying. So after performing the jump, I'm going to create a series of water blocks. So let me just quickly show you something. So let's say the player is right here. So when the player jumps, I want to create a block of water right there. But that's gonna be too small. So instead of having just one block of water where the player lands or where the player originally was, I want to actually create 9 blocks of water like this. Okay, so kind of 9 blocks of water around where the player is. Now, this is not too complicated, but in order to make things simpler, it helps a lot to know how I'm standing or how my player is oriented. So ideally, and I will show you that later within the game, but ideally we would like our coordinate system to be placed like this, with this being the positive X, this being the positive Z, and this being the positive Y. Ideally, we want that so that the original point where my player is just X, Y, Z, right? The one we get from this function, right? To set these variables. So that is ideally the original X, Y, and Z. And if we know that our player is positioned or oriented this way, then all we need to do, for example, if we want to draw this block over here, all we need to do is to do minus, go to the negative Z direction. Or actually, in fact, what I want to do here, what I want to do here is do Z minus 1. Okay, so I want to go 1 block to the back, right? To the back. Remember this, this is going forward and this is going backward. So by subtracting 1 from z, I'm going 1 block to the back. So this will obviously be z plus 1. So that is 1 block to the front. So let me remove that. And then since we know the positive x goes this way, so to do this block here, that would be adding 1 to x. This block here would be subtracting 1 from x. And now the interesting thing is that to do the corners, I will just do 1 and I'm pretty sure you will get it. So to do this one, I need to both add 1 to x and add 1 to z and so on. I said I was gonna do just 1, but I'll do 2 to make it more clear. So this is x plus 1, z minus 1, and so on. Okay, I hope you get it. So let me show you in the game, or let's place the code first and then I will make sure to show you in the game. So let me just get rid of this and go back to the code. So let's proceed. But there's one more thing I need to do, is I need to identify the block ID for water. So to do that, remember we have our good friend here, the block ID's website. I'm gonna look for water with Control F, and I actually have 2 blocks for water. I have flowing water and still water. This is not a river, it's more like a small pond or swimming pool, so I need still water, which has ID 9. So I just go here and I type 9, and then I'm ready. I can give a comment here, block ID for water, and then I can proceed. So the first thing I would do is, and I'm just gonna copy some code here from another file. So the first thing I would do is to place the block at the original x and z. Remember, since I want to place the water under where the player originally was, so I will subtract 1 from y. I'm assuming the player was standing on the floor, so y minus 1 will be 1 below it, so it will go into the floor. The water will go into the floor. But I keep the x and the z unchanged, so this is a block of water right where the player was standing. All right, now the next thing I could do is I can place the blocks right in front and behind the player. Okay, so always remember, always y minus 1, because we want to go 1 block under. And then to place the block in front of the player, it's z plus 1, and behind the player z minus 1. And again, this is assuming I'm standing as I showed you earlier. This is assuming I'm standing like this. Again, this the positive x-axis, positive z-axis, and positive y-axis, right? I'm assuming I will be standing that way. In fact, because of the symmetry of the swimming pool I'm creating, it doesn't really matter at the end how I'm standing, but in general, it's good to think in terms of how you're standing and how you're constructing, especially later when we start constructing more complex things. It really helps to understand what you're doing, what adding or subtracting from one of the coordinates does based on how you're standing. Okay, having said that, let's continue. So the next thing I'm going to do is I will create the blocks to the left and to the right of the player. Okay, so going to the left of the player means don't change z, just add 1 to x. And then going to the right means change, subtract 1 from x, don't change z. And then just really quickly here, after running the code, I would have something like this, right? Assuming this is the original position of the player here. Okay, so I have the front, the back, the left, and the right. So I'm still missing the 4 blocks, the corners. So let's proceed. Let's do those. So The next one I'm gonna do is left forward, left backward. Okay, so now I need to change both X and Z at the same time. So left forward, remember going to the left means adding to 1 because the positive X is towards the left. And forward is adding to Z, adding 1 to Z. Then left backward is still adding 1 to X and subtracting 1 from Z. All right, and finally, 2 more blocks missing. So that would be right forward, right back. So again, to go to the right is going towards the negative X. So I'm going to subtract 1 from X, add 1 to Z to go forward. And then right back would be subtract 1 from X to go to right, and subtract 1 from Z to go backward. And that's it. That's pretty much it. So I should be ready to run this code. I'm gonna save this as a actually I modified super jump, so I should save as magic pool save. Make sure before you save, let's do that. I'm just gonna copy this. I'm doing this because I forgot to save as magic pool. So I'm gonna select all, copy, and I'll just go back to I'm just gonna go back to super jump, and I'm actually gonna make a new file here and paste that code and save this as magic pool, magicpool.py. Alright, just don't lose your changes for super jump. Alright, so I close that. Now this is magic pool. I'm ready to run it. I'm gonna put it right here. So before I run it, I will go back to the game and I will press F3 and then look at the axis right at the center of look at the axis right at the center of the game, so right there. Okay, so pay attention to those. And so the red axis the red axis is X, the blue one is Z, green is green. So make sure to put it that way, with the red one X going to the pointing to the left, the green one pointing upward, and the blue one, I'm just going to rotate just a little bit, the blue one pointing forward. So once you have it that way, as I described earlier with my drawing, I'm going to drop to the floor. Okay, and now I'm sure I'm pointing the correct way. I'm going to press F3 to remove that, F5 to go to third person view. That's gonna make everything look more clear when I jump and the pool is created. So I'm gonna press escape here. I'm gonna go back to the script. I'm gonna press F5 to run it, back to the game, and 3 seconds later I jumped, and as I fall on a swimming pool. And notice how there are 9 blocks. This is the one I was originally standing at, the center, and then one in front, one back, one left, right, and then the 4 corners. Sweet. So this is your swimming pool. Feel free to try it multiple times, but I'm going to show you just quickly something funny. I could become really mean and strange and whatever I want, and I'm gonna actually change the water to something mean. I'm gonna look for lava, and there's flowing still lava. I'm gonna use still lava, so ID 11. I will go back here and I'm actually gonna change this. I'll keep it as water. It's not really water, but I'll keep it like that so I don't have to change all the variables. That's the useful thing about using this variable. I just change the number here and everything else will be up to date. So I save it, go back to the script, I run it with F5, back to the game. 3 seconds later, my player jumps and oh my god, that is really mean. Okay, so this is how you can create the super jump with magic swimming pool or magic lava pool in this particular case. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, and Next, we're going to be learning something more complicated, something that will allow us to create things like this swimming pool with one single line of code. So it's going to be pretty interesting.